another edition of the NFL season, and I, once again, will introduce another edition. Before we get started, I want to make one thing very clear. You all know. We're going to stop the Jay Cutler talk right now. I had plenty in the last hour. I'm not going to continue. I am looking at you, Kelcey, specifically at this. This stops now, good sir.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am innocent until proven guilty, sir.
You know,
I don't know if that's how that works, but
you know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's out of the way. I'm just going to leave it at that. Welcome to 4th and 4, everybody. The BellyUp Sports pregame show brought to you from the guys from Gridiron Gallery and High Low Sports Podcast. Zach Heilman hosting, DJ and Kelcey with me on screen as well. Gentlemen, good to see you as always. I always look forward to these shows every Sunday morning. And we're really getting into the thick of it with the NFL season. Really a week of a lot of injury reports we'll be diving into. But, you know, how's our weeks doing?
can't complain. See, the bags under my eyes are gone, Mom, so we're good. I don't get yelled at this week, so we're good. Kelcey, on the other hand.
Man, look, man, I can't help it, all right? It's just I'm born this way, all right, Mom? Like, you weren't a great window maker. You didn't make a great person who has great facial features. It's just I have a face for radio, and I can't help that.
She hasn't chimed in yet, so...
No, I haven't sent her the invite yet. So.
Well,
maybe we'll give her 5 minutes, and she'll be here, rip roaring through the comments. Don't worry.
Maybe we'll be keeping an eye. By the way, you know, don't just wait for her comment. Also, you're free to comment wherever you're watching. By the way, because we broadcast on Facebook, you know, as well as YouTube and our own Twitter for BellyUp. So, you know, drop your comments, drop your likes in if you want, and you know, we'll highlight some of the stuff in your show. Just something I want to point out that sometimes we don't always bring up, but you know, we do that. Kelcey has a good eagle eye for catching those as they come in. Let's jump into the topics, by the way, here. Quarter number 1, folks, is up on the docket. I got to make it official, of course. Time for the kickoff. You got to make it official with the graphic. Quarter number 1 is up. As for those that have tuned in, as always, to the show, or if you're new to the show, quarter number 1 is the news-centric portion of 4th and 4. So, gentlemen, here's the deal. This week, not as many, I don't know, like trade stories or like, you know, new team signings and such. A lot of injuries, a lot of season-ending injuries, a lot of COVID-related issues coming up once again. I mean, this is the time of the year where, to me, you see a lot of this stuff kind of, the season might wear down on a few players. But, wow. I mean, we're talking like Chris Carson, Khalil Mack are both now ruled out for the year. Alvin Kamara is not going to be in today. Jared Goff sitting. I mean, for what that's worth, of course, with how the way the team's playing. I understand, but a lot of stuff just this week kind of piling on to teams all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Piling on. But yeah, no, this is, man, I don't know anymore. These COVID weeks, these long-term injuries, you know, we talked about FedEx Field kind of almost jokingly last week or 2 weeks ago. And then, you know, Chase Young went down with injury. Now it's like, well, maybe 17 games isn't the right way to go about things. This is, I don't know if it's 17 games or maybe it's just coming off of COVID last season and people didn't get their bodies right. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like there's a lot more high-profile, bigger injuries this season than there has been in the past, and it's almost not fun anymore. Like, put these guys in a bubble outside of football days at this point in time. Like, can I get a bubble?
Can you? I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe a safety bubble for them.
Oh, okay. By the way, great.
Right on cue.
Well, all right, tough to follow that up, but I would probably agree on that one as well, too. And kind of just tossing in on top that there's a lot of game time decisions with Kyler Murray. Will he or won't he? Will they continue his midseason bye week or will they toss him out there? DeAndre Hopkins, Darius Leonard. There's a lot of really close bye week type of ones or game time decision type of ones as well. So lots to look out for on the injury front. My question to you guys is, which one do you think is the biggest injury of this week in particular? Not including the season enders, but the ones for just this week.
Alvin Kamara seems like the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
I look at that and just like, there was a hope for the Saints. And then, well, there's the hope.
You don't believe in Trevor Siemian to light it up through the air and save him?
Let me think about that. No.
When in doubt, throw it up to Marquez Callaway. He out there somewhere?
I mean, I would have said that about Jameis, but not about Trevor Siemian. Like, I'm sorry.
He almost pulled it off last week against the mighty, mighty Titans. The mighty, mighty Titans.
Well, okay, so this is not my fault, Zach. I'm just sorry, but
here we go.
Why, Coach? Can you lay off for 5 minutes?
Smoking Jay has made his appearance.
Hello, Rails. We are about to fall off.
He probably wasn't in time for the disclaimer. That's on him.
No.
He didn't get briefed.
No, you have accepted your new Lord and Savior in Jay Cutler, so you have to deal with the consequences of this.
I say,
anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go back and watch Coach Steve's Bears pregame. We just recorded and on the last hour, and you'll see what we're talking about. But no, so Zach, what's your biggest injury though?
Well, it would be Kamara just for the impact and the overall usage. However, at least they have a good replacement behind him. Mark Ingram's been solid when he's been able to fill in. I can see I'm just gonna. I just hit it from you. There it is. Once the can's up, whatever, whatever, Coach. That's fine. To continue my thought before I got interrupted by that disturbance once again. It's Alvin Kamara just for the usage alone. Not to the same. It's not to similar degree as, like, say, Derrick Henry usage, but he is kind of the offense. And then, yes, Steve's also right with Khalil Mack. Mack was already out for a few weeks, so we've seen his impact already. And I think the Bears really just had, they really just had to adjust and pick someone else up that they can have that's sustainably healthy. It seems like Mack last few years has been, I don't know if his usage just forces him into an injury situation, but he doesn't always stay as healthy as he should be. And I think just the longer the season's gone on, it almost feels like this was bound to happen. Now they did pick up like Bruce Irvin and co. For quick fixes, but we've seen his impact. I think Kamara, Kelcey's right. That's got to be like the most impactful now.
Time out. Hold on. Wait, I'm right for something for once.
You've been right before. You don't give yourself enough credit sometimes.
Sorry, I'm used to my pick'em right now of dead last and desecration on my family name.
Not everything translates to the pick'em, good sir.
DJ's finally gotten enough goodwill in the world to bring himself out of the basement, and so somebody had to replace him.
We'll talk about least impactful just because of how I think this offense has evolved. I know Amari Cooper's the big name that's out, but really for what the Cowboys have as weapons, I'm just saying, you can survive a week or two with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Schultz and company. You've got weapons to sustain yourself. Ezekiel Elliott's back, Tony Pollard. Unfortunately, you do lose that presence on the outside, but there's, Gallup's able and shown in the past that he can supplement when needed.
And it's the Chiefs defense. Dan Sorensen here to stop the backup receivers. Whatever will they do? They'll be fine.
Yeah, look, there's L'Jarius Sneed will shut down one receiver. Okay, well, guess what? You still have Tony Pollard. You still have, Zeke. You still have Dalton Schultz, as you mentioned, who, by the way, please throw the ball to Dalton Schultz. Don't go putting 40 points on the board, and don't throw the ball to Dalton Schultz more than once. Come on. What are we doing here?
And the one receiver he won't shut out is CeeDee Lamb because no one's really shutting him down one-on-one these days, so it'll be fine.
Yeah. I can't win with my mom anymore. Jesus. Mom, it's holiday season. You're supposed to like me. At least pretend. Jesus. She's a Raiders fan, so she doesn't understand.
You root for America. I also get the vibe you root for America's team. There's always those Cowboys haters out there.
I don't know if I root for them or for just I just slightly don't hate them more.
My thought is, do you guys think David Bakhtiari is going to play this season? He was taken off injury report a couple of weeks ago, but still continues to be inactive as well, inactive again today. Do you think there's a chance they're going to let him get in, or do you think there's maybe a setback? What do you think is going on there with David Bakhtiari, the blindside wall that keeps Aaron Rodgers upright?
I think he will play. I think it's a matter of getting closer to the end of the season. Look, he came back from a ruptured Achilles about 4 weeks earlier than I ever expected him to. I think it's safe to say, and I think that's almost safe to say for everybody. And it's one of those things that you gotta let him play it back. I feel like it's like Colts picked him up, and I can't think of his name for the life of me right now. The tackle,
Eric Fisher.
Yes, Eric Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
It's like him coming back a little bit earlier than expected, but still not playing that first couple weeks. Well, he did, but that's more out of necessity. But it was like the plan was to bring him back, but not play him, and they have to pull him off of IR eventually if they want to use him in the playoffs. And I think that's more of the goal here, is they're bringing him back to, if they can make the playoffs, make the playoffs.
And at the same time, if you can almost save him for that last month, why not as well too? Just be like, all right, we're not going to risk you getting in. Just slowly play fullback here or there, just for fun, just to get your sea legs under you. But then we'll toss you in at left tackle for the last 3 weeks to get into the playoffs.
When we're up 45-0, you're coming in and playing Mike Vrabel's role. You're going to go catch a touchdown pass, David.
You're going to have more touchdown passes than offensive line pancakes for the actual regular season.
Just get up to speed. I mean, the Packers are in a really good place in the driver's seat in the NFC right now. And, I just think they continue to impress at times. Of course, Aaron Rodgers being in, that loss with Jordan Love probably hurts a little bit. And Packers fans are probably going, next year I'm a little scared. But again,
Aaron Rodgers over here like, oh, really? You guys can't win without me. Guess what that means? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Like, back the Brinks truck up.
And on top of that, defense has looked awfully good this last month as well, too. I mean, they shut out the Seahawks. Even when Jamal Adams got an interception, when Jamal Adams gets a pick, that usually means all hell is frozen over, and that means the Seahawks are unbeatable. The Packers still shut them out despite of that in that last game. So that defense is starting to come alive without Zadarius Smith and Yair Alexander and a beaten up Kenny Clark. So look out for the great defense of Green Bay. That monsters of the Midway traveled up to Cheeseville.
Okay, so
I think I need to pull myself out of this conversation and let you guys class that one out. That was Zach. How do you feel about that? Monsters Midway in Green Bay.
Monsters Midway in Green Bay, huh?
The monsters of.
I mean, it sounds that sounded so forced. You really tried to rhymes. There's not a lot to ham-fist that title in there.
There's not a lot to work with there. You got to take what you can get sometimes. I mean, I've already had to suffer through Jay Cutler jokes for the first 15 minutes here.
Yeah. See, to me, I think cheesehead jokes work, like bad defense and cheesehead jokes work best when it's like, oh, it's a Swiss cheese up in Green Bay. Look at all those holes.
The holes have been plugged up and the cheese is no longer Swiss then. However you want to flip that as well.
There's no good naming for like
strong Munster cheese up there.
It's
a cheese circle. Good luck getting through that.
Yeah, cheese will. Have you ever seen them try to crack those things open? Those things look so much of a pain in the butt to crack open a cheese wheel.
No, I've never seen
thought I have. Like those Parmesan Reggiano ones.
Okay.
They take like 30 minutes to open up, and that just seems like inefficient. Give me the cheap stuff.
Honestly, cracking open that cheese wheel might get you injured on the injury report as well, too. So and maybe some of these guys were trying to do that. That's why the injury reports for a lot of these teams look pretty long. But luckily, it doesn't seem like there's too much to worry about this week.
Nah. Literally the season end, like I said, the season-ending injuries kind of stuck out. Chris Carson was the one that's like, I think we're all like, okay, that was to me obvious that they aren't gonna make it. He wasn't going to come back. It seemed like that injury was going to be nagging. I was hoping Khalil Mack they wouldn't shut down for the year, but they still did. Also, this is what we get for having bots. What is this going on in this chat right now? You guys see?
I don't know what you're talking about, Zach. It does not exist.
I wasn't going to show it, but thanks a lot, Facebook, for throwing bot people asking for stuff in our chat room.
Welcome to capitalism at its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
God damn it. We live in an automated society that I sometimes wonder does this help? Having bots invade our show? No, I don't think so.
Well, they want to take over. I mean, they can probably make some good Jay Cutler jokes.
Hello, welcome to a channel. We talk about.
So we're playing with Russian bots now. Okay, Zach, trying to get us canceled already.
Well, you mentioned capitalism. Now would be a great time to capitalize on that and win some money while watching sports as well, too.
Absolutely. DJ knows where it's at. This is his time. This is his spot. He loves talking and getting his moment in the sun in quarter number 2. DJ's best bets and some other bets too, which is just being Kelcey kind of hoping we can supplement DJ in any possible way here. But usually good old DJ Stewart has got your takes and has got your insight for week 11. So this is your time to shine, good sir. As always, hit it.
Well, last week was a little bit rough in some spots as well, too. Looking at you, Atlanta, for not covering a 7-point spread. I don't know how you lost by 40, but that's another issue as well, too. Looking at this week, Colts -7 against Buffalo. Buffalo probably wins, but look for the Colts to cover that spread of full 7 points. Last year when they played in the playoffs, it was a 24-27 type game. Look for a similar type game as well, too. in Buffalo, a little bit chilly, not a whole lot of wind. Josh Allen and them are going to have.
Oh my, we just that just happened.
Yeah. Yep.
Looks like we will have to wait for that connection back. Tell you what, Kelcey, I guess we'll just kind of wait to get him going again.
Oh, here we go. There it is.
Okay, never mind.
That was weird. All right, so we're back. So basically, look for the Colts to cover the -7-point spread. Jonathan Taylor will keep it on the ground. Josh Allen will have his way with the secondary. Look for it to be a relatively close game. Texans -10 against the Titans. Texans could cover this one. I wouldn't bet a whole lot of money on it, but if you have a little bit of leeway, look for maybe the Texans to only lose 30-24, just getting some garbage time points. The Titans defense isn't exactly known for being stout in recent weeks. It looks like it has been, but on the course of the season, their pass defense has let a lot up. Bud Dupree's now injured again as well, too. The secondary, outside of Kevin Byard saving the day, is a little bit thin. Maybe Brandon Cooks can get loose at the end of the game when it's said and decided. Look for the Titans to win, but the Texans might be able to close within 10 points. Checking in on money lines, the one that sticks out to me, Carolina -164. Cam Newton is getting the start today as well, too. And he's going against his former coach, Ron Rivera, as well. And he's probably got a little bit of a chip on the back of his hair saying, hey, you know what? They needed a quarterback and they did not come and sign me. And this could be the kind of situation where Washington, the roots come back to sow. No Chase Young, Cam Newton coming in there as well, too, with that chip on his shoulder. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, all a little bit more reinvigorated. Look for Carolina to win this one. While they are the favorite, only -164. That could be a situation where you bet a little bit extra. It should be a little bit. Carolina should be favored by more. I like the odds being really, really close on this one. Now looking at the over-unders. Bengals versus Raiders, 50.5 points. I'm going to take the over on that one. We saw the Raiders almost give up 50 points last week on that by themselves. Bengals defense is spotty. Last time we saw them, they gave up more than 40 points. So while their defenses do have their moments, it could be a yes, Cam as well too. I think Cam's going to have him. If you have him on fantasy, that'd not be a bad day to start him. Or if he's still, for some reason, available in your league, A, let me know so I can join that league and go snag him. And B, go ahead and toss him in there. But Bengals Raiders, I do think that's the one that will crack the take over 50 as well too. I think both offenses will get clicking. Tampa Bay versus the Giants, 49.5 points. I'm actually going to take the under. I think that the way the Giants and the Bucs played last year, it was weirdly close. And the Giants, their defense especially, has played really, really, really well the last handful of weeks. Danny Jones has been a little bit less of Danny disaster as well, too. So look for him to maybe just keep this offense on schedule, keep it relatively close. And if it's 25-20, 25-17, 25-14, something along those lines, it's all under 50 points. Even if Tampa Bay wins comfortably, I don't think they're going to run Rap Shop and score 49. Then Kansas City versus Cowboys, 56 points. I think this might be the highest over-under we've seen this season on this show. I'm taking the under, but not by a whole lot. I mean, both teams, obviously we talk about the Swiss cheese defense of Kansas City, the interception or touchdown defense of the Cowboys, especially missing their two pass rushers, and then both offenses, enough said. I imagine this will be 35-20, 30-26, something like that. And that equates to 56, 55 points. I take the under because 56 is a lot to cover. It could happen, but if the Cowboys don't try and play ball control like they did when they played the Chargers, hand that ball to Zeke and Tony Pollard and kind of hold it away. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back for the Kansas City Chiefs too, so a little check down here, a little check down there. They would be smart to kind of play a little ball control and make it a 30-27 or 28-25 type game, something like that. So it'd be just under the 56 points.
Nice. Impressive as always, DJ. Got to give you props, man.
Hopefully, and there's some prop bets out there too to take a look at as well too. There should be a lot to work with this week, assuming it's not going to be another one of those weeks where everything that you expect goes to heck.
Well, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring here and give you one that I'm looking at, and that is the Ravens and Bears game, and that is because the Ravens likely without Lamar, and likely without Hollywood Brown, which means no running back and no quarterback. No receiver and no quarterback. And by the way, only Devontae Freeman healthy, which they activated Trace McSorley off the practice squad, even though they already had a backup, which is very interesting as well. And you take all that into account, and they're still a 6.5 point favorite, over under at 44.5. Give me the Bears and give me the under. I think this is the chance we'll see Matt Nagy not get in the way. He'll just be like, you know what? You guys go do your thing. I'm not going to call plays for once. And you're going to see Justin Fields that we all kind of hope is going to show up after the draft, that we thought is that player from the draft. He's going to show up. David Montgomery's going to rattle off a few beautiful runs. He's not going to get very far downfield just because he doesn't run fast. It's like 25 yards, but still, I think it's enough to give the Bears a win and take this one. And so give me the Bears and give me the under on that 44.5.
I'll be surprised if Lamar doesn't play. It says he's 50-50 with an illness, and we joked about it earlier in the day on TSS show that watch this be his quote-unquote flu game. They'll just basically pump him full of fluids, and the Bears' defense isn't exactly the Bears' defense these days either, too. And no Khalil Mack rushing off the edge. I feel like they'll be able to stay in this one. Lamar will play in this one just because there's not going to be Khalil Mack chasing. But I do agree with you. Justin Fields should have a field day as well on this somewhat shaky pass defense, and if Matt Nagy just stays out of the way.
Yeah, and like here's the thing to consider with this: like the Ravens, they are not an offense without Lamar. Lamar is their they have to a good point they have built this entire offense around Lamar, but to a negative point they have built this whole offense around Lamar.
Right.
So if you don't have a Lamar or a Lamar lookalike, you can't really run your offense, and they don't really have a Lamar lookalike except for if you believe the TikTok hype around Trace McSorley, in which case completely possible.
I was waiting for somebody to bring that up.
Oh yeah. It's they made a whole song about Trace McSorley.
We'll say too, Lamar Jackson is only 24 years old. We're like, if you or I get the flu or something like that these days, we are incapacitated for a week. Where Lamar, in our 24-year-old days, we could do a lot, even with any type of sickness as well too. So I can see him going out there regardless of what it is. It's described as non-COVID, so he still got he has those 24-year-old legs. I think he'll be fine and able to go out there. Question is how effective. Was that?
Man flu is man flu. That's my only answer to that.
Maybe you were incapacitated even at 24, but back in my day, now we could survive a little bit of cold.
I was a child of 3, and I was incapacitated by a man flu.
Well, at 3, I would hope so. I'm talking about when you were an adult.
Oh no, I'm just giving an example. Like from that early age until now, I am the pansiest of all pansies when I get the man flu.
That's not a whole lot to argue there. You were right.
Thank you.
Shame.
You're on a roll today, 2 for 2 on being right. Look at you. You might have 100% pick 'em this week.
Hey,
that'll be the day. Hey, thanks, Mom.
Men and a simple cold are just babies. Some gold comments here. Seriously.
I'll also toss in one that wasn't talked about. Kansas City is actually the favorite over the Cowboys by about -200 or something like that. Maybe if you feel if you're feeling it, I think the Chiefs are going to win, but Cowboys can win this one very easily. That one should be a little bit closer to a -110 +110s. But if you have a little bit extra, I mean, it's not a bad considering it should be a pick 'em. The Cowboys at a +200. Maybe throw a little bit out there, see if you can win it back as well too.
I was going to say something like, because I think Vegas just saw the ass whooping last week that they laid on the Raiders and went, all right, they're back. We can go back to our usual scheduled betting lines on the Chiefs. We don't have to be timid anymore. And of course, they can even throw in the reason like, well, Amari Cooper's not in either, so that's just something else. But I mean, we just talked about it in our quarter one, like there's too many weapons there. So like that one I can see is one that I could see like the spread not being covered. The over under though, I think that's easily going to be over. I think that can be over. That looks like some explosives.
Oh, you think it's going to be over? I all right, we'll see. I'm very curious as well too. I'd be surprised if it goes over just because both teams would be smart to not give the ball back that often.
Wait, did you just say smart and use it in reference to the Cowboys offense?
I said both teams, so they were just kind of dragged along by default.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, it's a high over under anyway, but I think you can still crack that.
100%. I'm expecting Zeke to get the ball 20 times and Pollard to get it 15, and then on the opposite side, the Chiefs to actually run the ball like 12 to 20 times, something in a reasonable amount. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire back, fit him into the mold, play a little bit of ball control, then strike after wearing down the defense. But don't just go bombs away like this is Kansas City versus Los Angeles Rams Monday Night Football a few years ago. Nothing quite like that.
Okay, for me, crazy or not crazy, Monday Night Football seems like it could be a trap on the lines that they are laying here. Because to me, I think the -11 for Tampa Bay. I don't know about you guys, but the Giants have showed up to play in recent weeks, and -11 to me seems a little bit of a stretch. Also, Tampa Bay has been a mixed bag as of late.
And there's no Antonio Brown as well. Gronkowski, a game time decision.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
The big vaccine cards and also injury.
That's a whole nother mess.
I know it is. I know. We should have mentioned that earlier, but I just
AB gonna AB. I'll just leave it at that one as well. But I do think the -11 is kind of high. I do think they will cover it just because what Tampa Bay likes to do is it seems like they score in abundance late, even when they don't need to. It's almost I don't want to say they run up the score like it's college football, but sometimes the score gets out of hand late. But I think it's going to be much closer than -11 throughout most of the game. but then maybe an extra touchdown late just to kind of put the Tampa Bay stamp of approval on it, and that'll pull them and cover the spread. But I agree with you. I think this has trap game, close game, really close written all over. That's why I'm thinking the under as well. I think the Giants will be able to keep it close for the most part, and Saquon might play as well too.
That's true. I am banking on that fantasy wise. Dear God, I hope he plays. I need him back. I need him so bad. I will say as well, like this could also be me just spitting out a fake vibe, just because how the way the Bucks were embarrassed last week too. This could be an angry Brady game, so you could also see that. I'm just saying the Giants not getting enough credit. I think that shows it's not enough credit for me. But yeah, that's all I got.
Just trying to find the "It's a Trap" gif that I could drop in here. Turns out I can't drop it in here. I'd have to pull up the YouTube video, and that's just too much effort.
We're hearing it.
It's a trap. There we go. We got it in there.
It's a trap.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the same effect without Admiral Akbar in there.
R.I.P. Admiral.
Yep.
Nice.
Even Lego Admiral. He had his moment in time too.
Yeah. Well, it's one other one that I think I know just because it's divisional, but I also don't think it's going to be as close as I would say. Green Bay with the -1. Now, Minnesota, as we know, it's kind of been, I would say hot or cold, streaky when they can be, but they also give it up late.
So you're saying Kirk Cousins is not to be trusted?
I just think that the Packers will – I just think that you're going to see it. Packers might run away with it a little farther. They'll cover the spread, but I mean, I don't know. I'm this is one of those I'm like really just -1. I think this is going to be like two possession win if you ask me.
I'll flip it for you. I think Kirk Cousins is one of the only things you could trust on the Vikings because that defense is spotty at best, and Dalvin Cook has been banged up, and the receivers have been a little dinged up. So maybe Kirk Cousins is the one thing you can trust, which isn't always the best thing. But he's played pretty well this season compared to his normal Kirk Cousins standards. I mean, 18 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, only 1 interception, if that. He's been pretty solid this year. Or 2 interceptions, excuse me. He's been pretty solid this year. So, but at the same time, I don't feel comfortable with it. But he might be the one thing on the Vikings I feel more comfortable with than anything else.
You know how Zach is with Jay Cutler? I feel like that's how I am with Kirk Cousins. I immediately see Kirk Cousins, and I'm like, rage.
I'm so mad at you. I thought we had an understanding when we started this show.
No, I'm just trying to give you I do have a guy that does that, and it is Kirk Cousins. He is just everything wrong with a quarterback that still somehow is successful. Just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
He plays quarterback in a fantasy world, but that's not the only fantasy we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, Jesus,
no, it's not at all. We'll be rejoining.
Captain transition here.
I know. DJ's at the helm. I just give the topics out. He gets to hold the wheel. I kind of point out what's in that direction. Maybe I'm at the crow's nest in this.
It's driver's ed. You drive. I just I direct.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be entering halftime here really quick, kind of stepping away. We'll be back in about 30 seconds, giving you all things fantasy and our 3 games of the week that we will be giving picks for. So stick around, folks. We will take a short break. And Jesus Christ, I'm definitely getting out of there. Stop spamming our show, please. Okay, we'll be right back. And we are back in after the halftime. Welcoming you all back in for quarter number 3. Fantasy sits and starts. Let's talk about this, guys. It's been a week. Obviously, some of the COVID-related ones and injuries have affected our fantasies, as we've been joking between me and DJ. Alvin Kamara obviously being out, hurting both our souls this morning. I had to make really sporadic changes that my roster makes me cry now. I'm expecting losses across the board.
Oh, how sad. You guys were capable of drafting Alvin Kamara, and you drafted him.
Oh, I
never had the opportunity.
It never had the everything.
Your non-sympathy has never been so blunt.
Look, if you looked at my running back core, you'd understand right now. Chase Edmonds is gone, and I'm sitting here like, what do I do with my life? And I
We
don't
willingly didn't take a running back in the first round or the second round.
Yeah.
No. To be fair, I could have taken Chase Edmonds, who was still the highest rated running back in the board in the first round, and I decided, why do that and overdraft when I can just draft him in 2 rounds when he's still sitting there as the highest rated running back? And I was right.
You picked it like number 6 or 7, though. There was other options there.
No, not in our draft. Not in our draft. There was not.
You're
I
telling-
actually picked 8 and 9. I picked at the back end of the draft. And
I remember
all the running backs were gone.
Or all the ones that you like were gone.
No, all the running backs were gone.
Or all the ones you like were gone.
All the top tier running backs that are worth spending a first round pick on were gone.
So all the ones you liked were gone.
Which I stand by the statement. Not a single running back went off from when I decided not to take Chase Edmonds until I took Chase Edmonds.
Say it.
Not another single running back
know
came
it.
off the board in that stretch.
Don't
You
you have
know it to
Antonio
be
Gibson
true.
too, though?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson's higher rated than Chase Edmonds.
I think I actually took Antonio Gibson in the first round, honestly.
Yeah, we're just gonna reel back off of this one too. So
Yeah, all right. So we now understand why that we understand that Chase Edmonds obviously is burned Kelcey. So we
Antonio Gibson's not helping either. He is still injured
get
and
it.
playing on a fracture, so I don't even know what to expect week in, week out from him.
We get it. You undervalued the running back in the draft. We're just gonna move on.
No, I valued it perfectly fine. Everybody else just overvalues it every single year. Unlike a real life draft where it's like, oh, well, let's think about this before we just draft every freaking running back. What's that? A quarterback getting all these points? Nah, we don't need him. Okay, I'll take Kyler in the first round. Thank you.
I thought you took Devontae in the first round.
I don't know who I took in the first round anymore.
Wow, what a mess. All right, so Zach, let's talk about your sit-ems and starts. Who are you looking at fantasy football this week? Because you got to replace Alvin Kamara. Who do you have to possibly slide in his spot?
I don't have much. I mean, I'll say that for some of my rosters, I got pretty lucky. I like Michael Carter earlier for the Jets. There, picked him up. So Simon, if you still happen to have him around, that's fine. That's fine. Otherwise, honestly, I'm banking. I'd look at the Eagles' backfield for maybe some solutions. If you still are able to get like say a Boston Scott or someone or a Jordan Howard, as quick solutions there. I bailed on my Adrian Peterson pick, so Kelcey can have a laugh. By the way,
he was still a better choice than McNichols at this point in time. So you still got that one successfully correct.
Yeah, that was a failure. So yeah, stay away from that. My main starts though, if we're going to talk about teams, I'm going to say mostly look at the Cincinnati Bengals anywhere in the receiving unit, even tight ends like CJ Azuma, T Higgins, Jamar Chase, any one of those today, I think would be great candidates. I mean, just look what the Chiefs did last week. The Raiders are not as well suited right now in the secondary still. And I think that you're going to see Joe Burrow and company have quite the day. That is kind of one, if you're having any of those pieces, I have that labeled and as a lock for having some solid starts here. I would say as well, just based on, again, weak secondaries, I know we were talking in the betting preview. I think that Vegas is undervaluing the Giants and their recent performances. I don't know about this, and I have doubts with even saying this, but maybe Kenny Golladay I could see as possibly having a solid day of this. The Bucs aren't really one that's flashy in terms of what is in the back end of their defense. It's always about it's all about the front seven with Todd Bowles' unit right now. But I don't know. The Giants have been able to make a little bit of movement, if you will, in terms of offensive production. They've been getting better. Daniel Jones, I think, has had some solid performances in recent weeks. And you're going to see some pieces healthy. Golladay is going to have his shots. I think that's someone that's more of a sneaky sleeper. It's not like one of those lock picks. I'd rather still go with people on the Bengals if you're going to be picking for, say, a particular lock at some positions. Otherwise, my only other one that I would say would be another lock in terms of like starting. Look towards like the Jets and Dolphins. Maybe Myles Gaskin getting some production today. I could see that one being a good case. I actually slotted him in. He's one of my guys that's like bench replacements for fill-in weeks, and I put him in as a start. I think that, he's going to get some production. It's another person I think that, Dolphins are realizing late has more of use than needed and is one of those that's stuck in a committee, but is much more suited now. So
honestly, I'll just be happy if Kenny Galladay plays 4 quarters this year as well too. So if he does
that's
play the
true.
4 quarters and is a fantasy viable option, kudos. I'm glad to see that he's finally actually able to stay on the field as well too, because injuries have not been kind to him since signing that deal to join the Giants.
No,
And
they have
Daniel
not.
Jones is not happy about it. You could tell too. Every time he's out there, he's like, "That's not Kenny Galladay." Fine, then throws it to somebody else and doesn't really throw it with conviction quite as much.
Well, Galladay upset me because he continued doing the same role. This is early in the season, and I'm only saying it for this week because I'm saying the secondary is weak enough to where you can maybe slide it in, and they have the injuries to where you can justify, like Sterling Shepard not being in. That helps with some production, because otherwise Shepard will take a lot of the targets that are like the inside routes or really more of the dirty work. Galladay's not that. He's a flashy, deep route kind of candidate who works mostly on the bombs or just on the sidelines because he's got that length and he's got the hands for it. I was expecting he'd take that jump this year with the Giants to be a more multifaceted receiver, and they kind of stuck him in that streak role. The deep shots, the post routes, the streaks. They aren't doing anything with him yet. I'm hoping that this is a game where maybe they open it up a little bit. He has opportunities, so that's kind of why I'm also saying like it's more of a sleeper choice, and that I could see it possibly happening.
I mean, you knew they were going to do that. His name is literally Galladay. Go all day. He's going to run go routes all day. Like that. That's just, it's in the name. There's nothing underneath 30 yards for him.
I'll tell you, I'll have one to fill the sits. I do not like, in terms of sits for this week, really Adam Thielen is going to be on it. I think that's going to be in terms of it's a divisional matchup. The NFC North is notorious for kind of just having low scoring bruising games. And when these two meet up in recent years, it's kind of been that case. I think you're going to see Justin Jefferson be the primary target, kind of like how last week him being really the dominant performance against the Chargers. I think it's going to happen again this week. You only have one covered. I think, I know Jair Alexander, you could argue maybe he's on Jefferson, but I think that maybe he's on Thielen a bit more.
Fair. I'm going to disagree and say Adam Thielen's 40 is I'm definitely starting, and that's going to bench KJ Osborne in that game, and there's no chance in the world KJ Osborne would see the field. I'm sure DJ, as a KJ Osborne former owner, I don't know if you still own him, would attest to that as well. Justin Jefferson, I feel like he's going to be. I feel like Justin Jefferson's going to be bracketed if they're going to play smart defense against the Vikings. He'll be bracketed, and that's going to be tough sledding for him. That leaves Adam Thielen to just do what he does. Tyler Conklin as well in that matchup, also very interesting piece. But looking over at some of the places, like I talk about running back Deontay Freeman over with Tennessee. He's a good pickup as well if you haven't already picked up a running back. Just because between the 20s, he'll get a lot of burn. Obviously, Peterson and Hilliard will be the ones inside the red zone, which, by the way, Hilliard's a boom and bust type of guy. He might get you a touchdown. He might get you 0 points. I don't know what to tell you, but he's going to be the guy sharing carries with Adrian Peterson in the red zone for the Titans. So that's one aspect as well. Dearness Johnson for the Browns. Always, still until Kareem Hunt comes back, option. Probably 1A, I think, across the board. Like, why not? See if you can replicate that Thursday night performance. Those are kind of who I'm looking at for starts. It's so hard this week, just because there's so many injuries, so many weird ones. Like Jeff Wilson Jr. for the Niners, I think could potentially have some upside to him, but how much are they actually going to? Are we going to see the Niners that is successful in running the ball, or are we going to see the Niners who tries to air it out too much and they lose? Like which Niners are we going to see? If we see the running Niners, then Jeff Wilson's a fantastic pickup. If we don't, I don't know what to tell you. But that's who I'm looking at, just across the board for running backs, where to kind of look for. But yeah, I don't really have any sits for running backs just because you can't afford to sit any of them unless you have a Buffalo Bills running back, in which case don't start them. That trio they have it's a three-headed monster. Does no good for fantasy football whatsoever. So that's all I got for this week though. But it's not a whole lot to look forward to.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm actually sitting Jeff Wilson this week because, in theory, the 49ers should give him the ball a lot. But this seems like the type of game where they're going to air it out with Jimmy Garoppolo, throw in Trey Lance just to prove, hey, we took the right rookie quarterback too. And Jacksonville's defense is weirdly good at weird times as well too. There is Josh Allen. There's Miles Jack. Like they still got some defensive players as well too. I think they'll force Jimmy Garoppolo to throw it through the air, and with George Kittle back, they'll still probably be able to do it. But I think they'll take away Jeff Wilson. So I have him on the sit this week if you can't afford it. If you're a running back thin like I am, maybe you force him in there anyway. And as Zach and I both know, Alvin Kamara's injury really, really is painful. So I decided to supplement him with not one, but two Titans running backs. I chose Deontay Foreman, as you mentioned, as well as I brought in Adrian Peterson as well, too. Going against the Texans, I expect him to get enough burn in, able to find something going as well, too. Maybe he gets a touchdown and they both get you 10 points as well, too. I frankly don't know which one to go with, so I'm going to take both of them. I am thin enough at running back. There's room for both of them. One of them has to actually get me something, in theory, because no Julio Jones on the outside as well, too. Receiving core is a little thin for Tennessee right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't just run it down the Texans' throat as well. And for fantasy receivers to look out for, Cedric Wilson, the receiver for the Cowboys. No Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb's going to be receiver number one. Gallup has come back and looked good. Look for Cedric Wilson kind of filling as that third receiver. He filled in a lot when Gallup was hurt. Very good with the ball in his hands. Always seems to get open, and Dak really seems to like him. Kansas City secondary is, well, it's Tyrann Mathieu, sometimes L'Jarius Sneed, and, well, yeah, it's everybody pick on Dan Sorensen, basically. So look for Dalton Schultz and Cedric Wilson, whoever he is somewhat lined up in the vicinity against, to have a bit of a field day. And then for my other sits, I am sitting every offensive player on Detroit minus maybe DeAndre Swift, because I don't think Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney or any of them are going to allow anyone to go off. The Browns defense has been effective all season for the most part, and that's you're missing your quarterback when you're already a winless team. Your highlight is a tie. So I'm sitting everybody on Detroit. Maybe you consider Amon-Ra St. Brown if you absolutely need to, because maybe he gets a little bit of garbage time points, but I don't trust any of the Detroit players to really get you anything offensively today, especially I think Penei Sewell's going to have a rough day with Myles Garrett as well. And if he even does have a little success, they'll throw Myles Garrett on the other side and he'll absolutely torch whoever the right tackle is. So sit everybody on Detroit this week.
I think that's solid, especially with Boyle now being starting in there. That probably throws. I know I would have actually said Hawkinson would have been, one of those that you can see maybe get an uptick, weekly starter.
I overlook TJ because TJ is a guy, unless you're deep at tight end for some reason, you kind of have to play him every week since there's only 7 reliable tight ends. It's kind of the same thing, but I agree with you on that one. So Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift, you kind of play them because you play them every week anyway. But everybody else, don't take any flyers there. No, don't say, I'm just going to give this one a gander. Don't take any reckless bets there.
So this year's been the year of the tight end for me. I'm 2 or 3 of my leagues, I've stockpiled tight ends to where I can do double duty with them in certain
you're
cases.
That guy.
Yeah, so I've done one where it's it's Hunter Henry and Rob Gronkowski as one being the start, one being the flex, because I just have those kind of guys hold up. At one point I had 3 of them where, oh my God, I had I had one from Washington that I'm spacing the name on right now.
Logan Thomas?
No, it wasn't Thomas. It was
Jones.
Yes, there it is. Seals Jones. I had Seals Jones, Gronkowski, and Henry all on a roster at one moment in time.
I can't say my tight ends. I've assaulted the tight end position this season with Dalton Schultz and Njoku and Noah Fant and quite a few others all at the same time, just to try to fill in space, because I feel like the tight end has been the most consistent position this year, where you can dive into a 7, 8, 9, 10 range ranked tight end, and they're always available. And then you're just cool, I'll use you this week. I'll use you this week. Whoops.
Well, I bring this up because I have one that I was this week I was looking through the waivers. I'm oh, this is a name coming up, but I looking at the stats. I'm nice. I didn't pick him up because I need him, but if you need an emergency tight end, Dan Arnold has been one. I know we don't talk about much Jags players, but he's been kind of becoming more of a safety net for Trevor Lawrence at times, and is getting more and more receptions each week. I know he's probably still available in a lot of leagues. If you need a fill-in really quick, I think he could be someone you could look for. And maybe he could be used as the season goes on, because, the Jaguars, they're not playoff contenders, but they're obviously not going to slow things down anytime soon. This is at this point trying to be looking for next year. Urban Meyer trying to get better at getting Lawrence prepared. And I think having reliable targets helps.
You think he's going to be trying to get Trevor Lawrence prepared when he's the head coach at USC or LSU? That's pretty bold of Urban Meyer to do that for him.
Hey, you never know.
It's bold of you to think he's going to be at USC.
You know what? I figured he'd get there on name value, basically. They
I
just
figure
kinda-
Ryan Day is going to leave and go to the NFL, and then we'll see Urban Meyer back at Ohio State. And
We'll see if
every
he actually-
Ohio fan has tuned out at this point in time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Especially if he does hang that 100 on Michigan, he promised. And he's like, well, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this. All right, we're good.
Hey, he hung half 100 on Michigan State, so poor Michigan. Not looking forward to what they have to perform.
Well, would you look at that? Suddenly Michigan has canceled the game due to COVID for the second year in a row. What a coincidence.
I think that's a good
And everyone in
leeway.
Michigan, except those in East Lansing, have left the building.
They were not even tuned in. They're still nursing the hangover.
Yeah, that's fair. Big game for that this week, too. Kind of biggest meetup for those two in some time, really. 4-6. Could be seeing playoff implications if we're talking college football, which we are not, by the way. Speaking of this show, kind of going into the final stretch run here. It is that time. It is quarter number 4, Primetime Pick'em, presented by Colorcast, which is an amazing application, by the way. Colorcast allows you to jump on and basically become the play-by-play or color commentator for your favorite sporting events, including NFL games. All three of us are involved on the app. We all have enjoyed the application. I actually have to thank these two here for getting me involved in Colorcast, so appreciate that.
He
But
finally
it's an
listened to
amazing
us and then finally saw the light.
Only took
Yes.
relentless nagging on both of our parts. It was a 24-hour day job.
It took relentless snagging and acquiring the equipment needed, which, by the way, download it on iOS. All three of us are going to be talking games, and all these games we are going to be showing, for the most part, are games that we are covering this week. So let's jump into this thing.
Well, before you do that, by the way, you guys can never catch us live on right here on your screens. For those of us who don't have great radio faces or great TV faces, you can catch us on Colorcast instead. We are on Colorcast under 4th and 4 on Sundays as well. So you don't have to just watch us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. You have other options.
Kelcey saving my ass. Thank you very, very much for holding the fort. All right, I'll pop this one up here. We're going to talk Raiders-Bengals, starting things out for our discussions. Kelcey and DJ will be on the call for that one on Colorcast at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Not much deviation. Really this week, the three games don't have much deviation. This is the only one, which scares us because Hector, being the guy he is currently still ahead and has been first place all season, and he's the only one that picked the Raiders out of this group. I mean, I can see how they win, but as we were talking in fantasy, I don't know about you, but Joe Burrow has the receiving core that can torch any facet of that secondary right now. And I almost feel like the Raiders are kind of reeling a little bit.
Completely unrelated, I've changed my pick to the Raiders after now seeing that as well, too. Gee, I don't know what decided to come over me, but that is where I've decided to go with this now.
I
Wow,
guess
it's
we
like
are
a
all
mess
going to the dark side and getting the cookies now, and then from that Death Star.
No, I'm staying with the Bengals. I can't do it.
No, like
I got to catch up.
to Zach's point, I think you look at this and they've been reeling finally, which I don't mean that like, oh, thank goodness they're finally reeling. I mean, like, actually they are reeling from everything that's finally happened. It's finally caught up to them. They're no longer playing above their emotions. Their emotions finally got a piece of them. And look, it's something that, you have to consider considering all the pieces that have left that eventually was going to catch up to them. And it looks like it finally has. And that's the only reason I'm not picking the Raiders is I think the Bengals are just going to be able to capitalize on that and not let them take anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made my points. Like I said, secondary to me, I think that it was exploited last week very much so by the Chiefs, who, they have, of course, their own rare weapons and look like they're finally back potentially. But I mean, the Bengals to me, Joe Burrow has made quite the step this year. Jamar Chase, what do I have to say about that? We're talking about Rookie of the Year candidate right now for offense. And I mean, T. Higgins, CJ Uzuma, these are good targets. These are weapons. Joe Mixon, for crying out loud. That's a lot to stop for a Raiders defense that in at least during Gruden's era and post Gruden era this season still hasn't shown me that Mike Mayock has constructed a defense that can really be a force in any facet during a game. It can do enough, but it's not a bruiser yet.
Yeah, I think the only way they're stopping Cincinnati is we're going to see a lot of Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. They are going to run that ball relentlessly. We're going to see Alabama Josh Jacobs absolutely terrorizing that Bengals defense, and Kenyon Drake picking up first downs along with Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. They're going to hold on to the ball. They're not going to be explosive. They're not going to try and find Deshaun Jackson for 40 yards where he could fumble it as well. And I think defensively, you talked about that secondary against those receivers. They don't have a chance. But Mad Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue have been bookends so far this year. Cleveland Farrell coming off the bench. They do run pretty deep at defensive end and getting after the passer. Max Crosby is a guy that always gets really close, but not quite the cigar. He's good at pressuring Joe Burrow as well. The offensive lines still has some holes, so maybe, just maybe, the pass rush can disrupt the offense. And we know Joe Burrow tends to kind of throw it up to the other team a little bit to a fault this year as well, too. He gets a little bit greedy for his britches as well. It's not LSU where you just throw it up every single time that Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson comes down with it. He does that. He's one of the leaders in interceptions. For all the good that he does, he might give you the ball back, and maybe you could steal a few in some way in that way. But I kind of agree. I'm leaning towards the Bengals as well too. Like in actuality, not actually changing to the Raiders, but I can see it being at least relatively close and somewhat high scoring.
Yeah,
there's a path to victory, I should say. This doesn't feel like a complete butt whooping.
Understandable. I get that. You know,
that being said, it's going to be a butt whooping now because I said that, and me and Kelcey were like, "Well, they scored again." It's like Ohio State and Michigan State 56-7 with 13 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Murphy's Law applying to DJ,
which DJ does point out we will be live on Colorcast for that one at 4:05 Eastern time as well. So,
yes. That will be the case. This will be for one of the two games that you guys are covering. By the way, I saw Kelcey pop up the second one.
No, I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do it.
Well, Lightning's going to strike twice tonight, as we will be on two calls, as you mentioned as well, too, including the Chargers and the Steelers, two teams that really, really need a win for the future of their season this week.
Yeah. So that'll be at 8:20 tonight Eastern time. So definitely check out for that one as well.
Yeah, we've kind of picked that one across the board as the Chargers, even with their stop and start offense, really sputter, inconsistency. It's almost like I talk sometimes how like when you're trying to shift the gear and it maybe sticks. You know, if we're talking like say a manual car, I don't know how many of you out there drive manuals anymore. I don't, but I mean, I've still been able to use one. You know,
this millennial fan base has no idea what you're speaking of right now.
My mom forced me to learn, so.
I learned with a Suzuki Samurai at my grandfather's farm in northern Indiana. Thing was a blast.
Yeah, whatever that was in the background, I gotta say that was perfect timing because it sounds like a transmission dropping out of a car. So that was literally perfect timing for all of that.
That being said, maybe they can put the new transmission in and then hit this thing on all 8 cylinders.
But I would agree with you that sometimes this offense just does seem to stall out, if you will, too. It seems to sputter. Justin Herbert will light it up for a quarter, then suddenly, where'd they go? They just we saw it against the Ravens for 4 quarters. It wasn't like he was under pressure the whole time. It wasn't like the receivers there was just miscommunications. Like slant route, he throws the out. He throws the out, they run a slant. Just miscommunication. They just seem to kind of get stuck a little bit, which young quarterback, young team, first-year head coach, first-year offense, like you kind of to be expected. But I agree with you. For their talent level, sometimes they do sputter, but I think this game they really, really need after losing last week to stay in that playoff hunt. The Chiefs now at the top of the division, where we kind of joked, if they ever get back to the top, look out everybody else. Well, they're back at the top, so it's up to the Chargers to kind of try and hang pace with them and see if they can get that wild card spot. And the Steelers not exactly fully loaded in this game either. TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick are both out. Ben Roethlisberger's not even flying to the game. He's expected to drive himself to the game because of the COVID symptoms as well, too. He is cleared to play, but I don't think he was allowed to ride on the plane, so he had to drive there. If I'm not mistaken, Chase Claypool might not be in there. It's not a fully armed up Steelers team. So I would expect the Chargers to make a statement in this game. I'd be surprised if they didn't, considering the opportunity that's presented before them.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's
my surprise team before the season. So if they lose this one, they're done basically, and I have to jump off the bandwagon.
Well, yeah, this is kind of a after last week's loss to Minnesota and just seeing how that one slipped through their fingers. Because it really did. I mean, they had every chance they needed to pull that one off in their own building, which I argue is hilarious that in their own building you see a sea of purple last week. It was mesmerizing watching that broadcast and going, yeah, there's where is the baby blue in that audience?
To be fair, you give any team that wears purple an opportunity to go down south for the winter, they're going to be like, oh yes, absolutely, I'll be there.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but I think this is like the Chargers kind of like, hey, let's get things in order. Chiefs are coming back up strong after last week. This is still a winnable division. We just need to start winning some games, and especially if you're talking playoff implications, we need to get a win against Pittsburgh this evening. Very crucial one in this contest here. So, final one as we are wrapping up, getting into the final minutes of 4th and 4. Oh, interesting. Dang, I'm in a bad spot.
Before we get into that one.
Yeah, let's
Peterson,
solve this.
Ahmad, Hines, or Booker.
Ooh.
Take Nyheim Hines. I think he'll get you a lot of points just from receptions as well too. We talked about the Bills defense, number 1 against the pass and the rush. Just check downs to Nyheim Hines all day should be wide open as well too. Guy that could give you both receiving and rushing threats. And he had a good playoff game against them last week. His little change of pace scat back self. It's a good game for him to get like between 10 to 12 points, I'd say.
When you're talking PPR, so that even fits in that mold better.
Yeah. Yeah, if you watch our TSS show earlier when we were on TSS, DJ and I mentioned Nyheim Hines as being kind of that breakthrough guy for the Colts this week because that Jonathan Taylor is going to be running to a brick wall consistently. You're not sure how much he's going to burn. So Nyheim Hines is the guy to look for picking up there and gaining some extra burn in this one.
And he had 70 yards in that playoff game rushing as well too, plus a touchdown. So maybe Nyheim Hines just kind of had that weird success against them last year as well too. So we'll see. I'd lean towards Hines on those. But as a guy who has Adrian Peterson starting today due to injury, I hope he does well as well. So one of those two, hopefully.
Yeah, but PPR, I think Nyheim Hines is a safe option.
Absolutely. Yeah, Peterson won't get you. Booker, with the presence of Barkley coming back, that also puts a damper in Ahmed. He hasn't really much of a presence all year for the Dolphins. So, Hines is probably my guess too. Hey, glad we can answer the question really quick before we get to the end of the show. Glad you popped on. All right, now we can talk about the grand finale here. I will be doing Monday Night Football. It'll be Giants taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for that contest at 8:15 Eastern on Monday night. As you saw on the card here, none of us are picking the Giants. I know for a little bit we talked about, hey, they're not giving them enough credit, to say the least. Let's see in the comment here. Got a resolution. Thanks. That's who I got. Feel like they went all Taylor 3 downs last week.
If we learned anything from the Colts, it's right when you think they're going to ride Jonathan Taylor, they quit giving him the ball and he only gets like 10 carries. So I can see that'll add on to it as well too. But I agree, they didn't use him as much last week against the Jets. They used him a lot. So I'm leaning towards Hines this week, and I think it'll be a better game if they do. I think if they don't use Hines, it leans towards a Bills blowout because I feel like Indianapolis has to use all of their weapons to stay in this game, including Nyheim Hines. So yeah.
You're going to see a lot more. It's a pass-heavy game with the Buffalo Bills coming in. And for this contest, talk about pass-heavy. I mean, Tampa Bay, New York, I think you're going to see that case. And I only say, like I said, I'll reiterate just because Tampa Bay secondary, I think, presents some opportunities is how I look at it. I might be skewing how I look at it, but that's how I look at it, is what I'm going to be laying it down as. Call me wrong if you will. That front seven, of course, any good pass rush can make a secondary look 3 times as better as it is. And so obviously the Bucs have what they need. But I would also argue that the Giants will make this a close game. Just defensively, they've shown up. That unit looks a lot more stable than in recent years. It's had some surprises in terms of wins. I mean, I know that the Raiders game, the Raiders upset they had 2 weeks ago seems a little different now that you look at how they got blown out of the building against the Chiefs, but win's a win, and it was a dominant defensive victory. That's how I look at it. Still,
Absolutely.
Bucs are going to win.
Hit the nail right on the head. So I think that'll be a close and fun game. We look forward to hearing your call on that one. That should be great.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Third cast for that. Well, actually, that'll be my 4th because I have another one in mid Sunday. So looking forward to that one too.
Oh, which was that? Just go and tell people. We got 15 seconds or 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you real quick. It's going to be Kelcey will definitely want to tune in for this one because it's his fandom. It will be the Cowboys Chiefs.
I will not be tuning in. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on. You can jump on. You can complain. Like I complain about Chicago all the time. So
cry some more. Yeah.
If they're winning, you don't cry. So I'll be doing that game as well for this same week as well. I hope. And yeah, I saw the comment there from halftime, half man, half spirit. I do hope it's a good game. I mean, last time the two teams met up, it was a good matchup. We won't be able to answer that question as we got to hop off, unfortunately. But maybe we'll get to us next week earlier. We can give you some more. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for joining us for week 11 of 4th and 4. We'll be back next week for week 12 with all of your favorites, all the quarters, all of the good content. See you later, everybody.